Okay, the time is now 6:32. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight for our regular city council meeting. Councilman Tim Dale will be leading us in prayer. I ask everyone to stand at this time and remain standing for the pledge. All right, again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We'll go ahead and jump right into our regular agenda. Item 1 on the agenda is to consider approval of minutes of the August 18th, 2020 regular session and August 25th, 2020 special session.
Can y'all hear us okay out there? Can y'all hear us? I don't think they can. You hear us?
Yeah, got it. Okay, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the August 18th, 2020 regular session and the August 25th, 2020 special session meeting as presented.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Tim Dale, second by Mr. Galen Adams. Madam Secretary, record the vote, please.
Councilmember Chappelle.
Aye.
Sproul.
Aye.
Dale.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries a unanimous vote. We'll now close item 1 and move on to item 2. Item 2 is to consider approval of the master lease agreement for lease of the city vehicles and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management.
Both of these?
Sit down. Till you see yourself.
Good, right there.
All right.
How you doing, sir?
Doing good. How are you?
All right.
Welcome.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you guys for the time, council members, and the opportunity to present this to you today. I've been working very closely with Ed and Mikhail over the last many months to put this plan together to make sure it makes sense for the city of Mount Pleasant. We've looped in all the other departments, including police and fire, to make sure that this meets their needs and that they're on board. So excited to walk you through just a high-level version of what this is going to end up looking like.
Everybody understands that we're looking at leasing rather than purchasing. Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead.
Fantastic. Do we have anything up? Are you guys seeing the?
It's right here on the screen.
Okay, fantastic. So the first slide, I'll start with just the situation as it stands today. The current average age of the fleet is between 8 to 9 years old. The average cost to replace 5 to 6 vehicles, which is what you're doing on average today, is close to $200,000. You have about $220,000 budgeted for this fiscal year. And the reason we're looking at this is we know that aged vehicles are less reliable, they're less safe, and they're much more expensive to operate from an operating expense standpoint. And this results in an inconsistent annual budget for the city, and that's something that we were looking to address. At the bottom of that slide, you'll see an illustration just shows you that 33 of your 77 vehicles today are over 10 years old, so far outside of the warranty, and those are very high operating cost assets. So the solution is, you go to the next slide, by partnering with Enterprise, it's going to enable you to meet the needs of all the departments, to truly meet the needs of what they need from a transportation standpoint. And in the first year, we're looking to replace 38 vehicles in addition to 4 growth vehicles that you all need across a couple of departments within the same capital budget of that $218,000. In doing that, you're going to cycle the vehicles out instead of an average age of 8 to 9 years, every 3 to 4 years. It's going to allow you to maximize the resale on those vehicles and keep operating costs as low as possible. And then we're going to keep the equity from resale in the fleet to continue to minimize total cost. And it's going to allow us to maximize budget dollars on an annual basis and create some consistency in the budget surrounding the fleet. And at the bottom there, you'll see estimated equity of your existing vehicles from years 1 through year 4 that we're going to use to offset some of the cost of getting this up and running. As you move to the next slide, the results based on the analysis that we did, it's going to certainly allow you to reduce the age of the fleet, including the police department vehicles and the fire admin vehicles. You're going to have much safer, newer vehicles on the road that are much more reliable. You're going to reduce operating costs by nearly 50% when this is fully implemented. And it's going to create, like I said earlier, consistency in the annual budget, as well as reduce the total fleet expense in comparison to what you've been spending. Projected savings in year 1 on this plan, a little over 120,000, and across the 8 years, you're looking at a little over $500,000 conservatively. Talking about savings and showing savings, those are two different things. So as you go to the next slide, I brought a case study that we did for the city of Fredericksburg here in Texas, and you're going to see it really follows the same theme that I just talked about, where they saw a significant reduction in maintenance expense. They've saved money over the last 2 years of the program, and they're on a 5-year replacement plan for their entire fleet, and their vehicle and fleet size is very similar to here in the city of Mount Pleasant. They have 75 or so vehicles today. Beyond that, if you go to the next slide, you'll see some of the cities that we're already partnered with and have implemented this plan at. You've got the city of Anna, Waxahachie, Corinth, Bedford, Keller, Justin, Haltom City, Commerce, Prosper, Willow Park, Kennedale, Denison, Palestine, Melissa, a couple that are not on this list, Longview, Sulphur Springs. And we continue to add to that essentially on a monthly basis. Moving on, aside from some of the financial and operating resources that we bring to the table, there's a couple pieces of technology that you'll have access to. One is the mobile app, and this is intended to make the drivers as efficient as possible, and it's going to really come in handy when they leave town. And as you look at some of the resources on the mobile app, you have a maintenance locator, virtual maintenance card. They've got roadside assistance. They have direct contact to our local office in Dallas, and alerts and reminders for when preventative maintenance needs to be done. So again, intended to make the driver as efficient as possible. And then beyond that, the website, you're going to have a central location to track the fleet where operating expenses feed into, and it's just going to make it much easier to manage the fleet in comparison to what you're doing today. So without getting too deep on the website, looking at the plan, it's not only going to save the city money and significantly improve the safety of the fleet, but we're also going to be adding some operational efficiencies, and we're going to help in that sense as well. So I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Floor is open for questions.
How many years have you guys been doing this with different cities?
We've got some cities that are, like city of Sulphur Springs, a couple years in, and then the city of Waxahachie, that's over 8 years.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Now, the insurance is still the responsibility of the city?
Yeah, and we wouldn't shift that away. You get fantastic insurance pricing,
Right.
so you continue to hold insurance. Yes, sir.
And the maintenance is on the city, or do y'all maintain them?
Well, there are a couple
all the
options. What
changes.
we determine makes sense for the city is that you all continue to maintain it in-house. You're still going to see a significant labor and part expense associated with maintenance.
So being that these are new vehicles, if we have any mechanical issues with the motor or transmission, et cetera, I'm assuming that's going to be covered under warranty?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I think you look across the age of the fleet today, the majority of your vehicles are out of warranty. So if
Right.
something happens, it's on you.
So if we've got a vehicle that's out and it's a critical vehicle that the staff needs, what's the turnaround on getting that replaced? Or swapped out, or as far as, do we get to get into a rental while it's being repaired? If it's deemed that
I
it's
see.
going to take, a couple days or a week to get the part or whatever it may be.
Sure, you're
I'm just
saying
trying to
if
figure out
something
how
goes
long we're
down-
going to be down a vehicle.
Yeah.
If we have a pool vehicle or a floater vehicle that we can use in the interim while that's being repaired.
From my recollection, I believe you have some vehicles that are set aside that you can use internally. But we know a rental company, if you need a rental, we could certainly set you up with an enterprise rental. As the part comes in, I mean, in terms of the lead time on the part, wouldn't be any different if something were to go down today, right? It goes to
Most
the
of that is,
you're waiting on
most
the
of
part.
that is similar to what we do today. It doesn't change. The warranty though, when we buy it, don't we have a warranty for, like we do with any other vehicle we buy?
Yeah, absolutely. And because you do very few miles and we're cycling them out so quickly, you're essentially going to be, except for the police vehicles, they're an exception, but you're going to be under warranty.
3-year,
Certainly the entire.
36.
And the warranty will be through if they're a Chevrolet, be through the Chevrolet
Yep.
house, or
Yeah.
if they're Ford, through the Ford, have the local.
Exactly,
For
yeah,
warranty
just the,
work.
whatever manufacturer we're going through, and you can visit a local dealership to get it taken care
Like
of.
on your 1 year savings here, you're projecting here 122,668,
Correct.
and you're figuring in some kind of a formula as far as the maintenance and based on our fleet that we have now, or how you.
Yes, sir.
How are you
So what we
deriving
did
that
was
figure?
we benchmarked the first year and compared it to your average spend over the last 5 years. And that's where we're projecting the savings of 122,000, factoring in the capital budget that you have set aside this year for 218,000. And then we've got technology and data that allows us to project what it's going to cost you to maintain these vehicles. And so we're using some of that to
I would
project.
think
maintenance costs.
the older the fleet is, the more savings it'd be to us,
Certainly.
because there's definitely more maintenance required with older vehicles.
Yep. You got it.
So the first year, y'all are going to replace 38 vehicles for the same amount of money we have in the budget.
Correct. In addition to.
And then
to floor growth.
additional, in addition of what, for growth vehicles?
Yes, sir. Just based on some needs for the departments.
In other words,
Oh,
we're adding
The ones
some.
we added
So
in,
it's not 38, it's for the same cost, it's
40.
42.
42,
Really 42,
But-
yes, sir.
for the
Now,
same
you will
company.
wrap these vehicles with their city logos, and like the fire department, I mean, they come to us
That's all
like
part of it.
the chief's vehicle or.
Some of the basic logos, we've recommended that you continue to do them. It's just more economical to do that. So we've had that conversation. And then for the police vehicles, they're going to come equipped the way that the police department would like them to be equipped. Every city does it a little bit differently.
Right.
So we've looped in the police
But
department. to
just
make
what I'm
sure
saying is what are you figuring in here as far as wrapping of the vehicle? Just say the vehicle for the airport. Or will you bring the vehicle in and have the Mount Pleasant city logo on
No,
it?
no,
or-
sir. You guys are doing it here at a significantly.
Okay,
lower
we
cost.
do it in-house
Yep.
then,
You
okay.
do that in-house.
The police have a company that does theirs, the wrapping of it. Isn't that right, chief? And then we in-house put
Do
the,
the rest of
put
it.
the
We
logo
do
on our
everything
own.
as far as the lighting and stuff like that, sirens and stuff, that stuff we'll take care of.
No, they're coming, they're,
They're coming.
they come all
Okay.
outfitted.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working with the police department to make sure that they're equipped the way that they've had them equipped in the past. Same equipment, same manufacturer. We're
Okay.
not changing anything there.
Just the
Okay.
logos. Just-
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, so back on the city vehicles though, the ones that are specialty vehicles that are equipped with a toolbox on a chassis vehicle or a bucket truck or whatever it may be, is that something that you're gonna do the outfit on, or are we just gonna get the chassis cab and then we gotta do the changeover?
Some of those specialty vehicles we won't get for him. I don't remember how many we talked about, but some of them we have to put a special chassis on or a bed or.
Well, like in the
And
case,
we'll buy those
a lot of
outright.
our existing utility beds and stuff can be repurposed and reused on a brand new vehicle.
Yeah.
How
We don't
many,
have to buy a new
how many of
chassis.
those do we have in
Yeah,
there?
correct. We had
Yeah.
that conversation. There are
Okay.
some toolboxes. We didn't want to factor in the cost of new toolboxes because you can repurpose that a lot of the time.
Right.
You're just moving it over. Same thing with a flatbed. You're just moving it over. And then once you get into really heavy duty stuff, we're talking about the light to medium duty fleet.
Yeah,
here, along with
we
the
have how many
65.
specialty big trucks and stuff that we're not including? Do you know that?
Oh, gosh. No, sir. I don't.
There's,
I do not
there's
know
a
about
several
that.
pieces of equipment because we customize them so much that we'll just keep purchase them like
Okay.
we do now.
And I don't know if you mentioned this, but on the existing vehicles that the city currently owns, if we decide to implement this fleet program, the existing vehicles that we have, are you buying those back and that cost goes back into the fleet program, or where does that money go that for the
Or do
existing?
you auction those? Do you sell
What are we
those to
doing with the
y'all?
money from the existing vehicles that we own?
Yeah, so on the third slide, you'll see the equity from your existing fleet in years 1 through 4. So essentially, we're taking that, we can sell them for you, and we'll determine whether it makes more sense to sell it through auction or to take it through our dealer network. Same network we sell our rental vehicles when we're done with
Right.
them. And then that equity is yours. It goes back into really what we're doing is putting it against the capital budget to reduce what you're spending in terms of cash outlay.
So you've
So
looked
it's
at our
gonna-
vehicles, you realize what we've got and kind of the age and.
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you look at the first year, your 38 vehicles, we're estimating conservatively
Right.
about 1,200 apiece. We think we'll come in a little bit better than that, but just knowing the age
Right.
of the vehicles, we want it to be as conservative as possible there.
So like, Ed, what's the oldest vehicle we have right now in our fleet, for example? How old vehicles do we have?
We had a 95. I know that had some special equipment on it.
Seems like that was just yesterday, 95. Yeah.
So there was a 95.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got a couple questions about your driver resource app.
sure.
So does that also include the ability to monitor the individual vehicle's idle time? As
No.
it's sitting running, or GPS track to know their actual location so you can know where they're at, so it make it easier for the city to dispatch a worker, knowing what part of the city they're located in?
No, sir. It's just a mobile app with some capabilities. What
Okay.
you're referring to is a telematics device, and
Right.
we did have that conversation. You all have a telematics device you use today.
Okay.
So we're determining if we want to go that direction. For right now, I don't know that there's been a decision made on that specifically,
But the roadside assistance and stuff like that is included.
Mhm, everything's included.
So if it's,
Something happens, you just dispatch roadside. Yes, sir.
you're right.
We've been doing our own roadside assistance.
what I'm
Chris has, so this is a neat, that'll save him some time.
Is that roadside assistance local, Longview, Tyler, Dallas? Where's?
Well, yeah, they'll dispatch it locally. So they'll dispatch a tow locally, and then certainly typically that tow can also transfer the driver over to a rental location if they're still open. And we can help take care of getting them set up with a rental and back on the road if that's possible.
Okay.
When it's time to surrender the lease vehicles back, what criteria will be used to determine what will be charged back to us as far as damages, the condition of the vehicle, overage on mileage? Is that mileage going to be divided amongst the whole fleet? Obviously, some cars are going to be used more than others.
Yes, ma'am.
Some will be way under the allotted mileage. Some will probably go over. Will we be charged by the mile? What about that kind of surrender
Yep.
cost?
Thanks so much for asking that, because I know when you hear open-end lease, the word lease leads people to think some of those things. The nice thing about the open-end lease, it's really just a partial finance. And so there are no mileage charges for going over the estimated mileage. There's no charge for excess wear and tear. If you have a vehicle with less miles, it typically is just going to bring you better resale returns when we go to sell it. A little bit higher miles, a little less on the resale returns, but the equity is the city's. And so the
Okay,
equity
the
comes.
equity is, so it's,
Yes, ma'am.
so it is incumbent, and if our personnel are able to take really good care of it, then we have more residual, we have more equity.
Absolutely, yeah. When we
Okay,
go to sell
That's how it
it.
works. It
Yep.
affects our equity or our loss.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and we set these up in a way that's conservative, where there's a large gap between the book value at the end of the term and what we anticipate for resale. Because again, we have enough data to be able to project that pretty accurately. And so you have enough of a gap in there, and we're cycling them out often enough where you're not going to see the damages and the wear and tear that maybe you saw in the past. But there's certainly enough equity built in there in case there's some excess wear and tear where you're not going to be upside down.
And don't you evaluate the mileage on these so that you get them at the peak time when you can get more out of them? You don't let them go over a long way on mileage.
Yeah,
We catch them before and trade them out where we can get the higher value out of them.
yes, sir. There's a lot of back-end work that went into this. We help identify the lowest cost vehicle option within a vehicle class. We help you identify when you should turn it over based on when we can maximize resale equity. And so we've already done all that work on the back end for you, and we continue to do that. And like Ed said, we make continuous recommendations. So you're gonna have an account manager that works out of the Dallas office. We're working from home now, but they're gonna look at the fleet, evaluate the fleet. They meet with the city a few times a year, and if there's anything out of the ordinary, they're bringing that up. And if we need to make adjustments based on what we see, again, they're there to help guide you through that.
So when it's time to purchase the fleet vehicles, or when it's time to rotate them out for a set of new vehicles, how does Enterprise go about doing that? Do you do a sealed bid deal with, say, like the local dealership here to give them an opportunity? Because they can do it, because like our company, Ask Elliott and Sandlin's and all those guys gives us sealed bids on our fleet vehicles that we get every year.
You're talking from a purchasing, when we go to purchase or when we go to sell?
Well, whether when it's purchase or sell, are you giving the local dealerships in this area an opportunity to be a part of that process?
Sure. Yeah, the remarketers that pick up the vehicles to sell them, they're going to take it to where they feel like you're going to get the best return on equity. If that's locally, they'll certainly do it locally, and if it's not, then they'll take it
I would
out.
think the local dealerships would be in a network where they'd be looking at some of these too. Yeah. Let me ask you on insurance. Have we checked like with TML, for instance, to make sure on insurance that the pricing is basically the same, whether the city owns the vehicles or whether we lease them? I mean, there's not a differential normally on insurance?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We didn't go through the exercise, just having cities that are on the plan that have been with us for over 8 years, like City of Waxahachie. There has not been a significant increase in insurance cost, and so it's not significant enough.
Because I know there'll be newer vehicles, so naturally,
Yes,
you know, every time I buy a new vehicle, you know, mine goes up a little bit. So we're going to be operating with basically a new, have a new set of vehicles all the time, I'm saying, or relatively new. We're not going to have that 95 or,
Yes, sir.
so, you know, that insurance is lower on it.
Yeah, on the flip
Because
side, you've got in a newer vehicles, much more safety features. And a
Right,
lot of times
right.
that helps
But I'm
from
just
an
saying
insurance
the
standpoint.
insurance should be about the same, what you've seen in
Oh.
other cities.
Yeah, over the long-term partnerships where we've evaluated that, very similar.
Okay.
Yep, not much change.
Okay, do we have any further questions?
Carrie, did you have enough time to look at the contract? I meant to ask you about that today, or do you need some more time and have questions?
Basically, that's what I've had to look at.
So we
You want Carrie?
really need to get the contract that we're going to sign to Carrie to look at it
Sure.
before we can do that. So-
And another question here on your slide 3 that shows the breakdown of how many vehicles per year. I know you threw numbers in there, but for example, for 2021, it says 38. Have those 38 been identified, or is that just a number you came up with?
Yeah, they've been identified.
Okay, so every
Yes, sir.
one of these numbers have been identified, which ones we're going to
Yep.
rotate out at that given time period.
Yep, absolutely. And then you have the flexibility to, you know, if you say, hey, instead of this one, let's cycle that one out and move that to year 2, you have the flexibility to do that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You know, if it's the will of the council to go forward with this, when we get to the motion, we may want to include in that with Kerry's blessing after he has a chance to review the contract, and I'll make it
Yeah.
contingent upon that to make sure that every
Well, look,
i's are dotted and t's crossed. Wouldn't you think, Kerry?
we'll just give Ed the authorization to go through with it if Kerry's okay
When
with it.
when he's
Yeah.
okay with the contract, yeah.
I would think that'd be the
Yes, sir.
little hinging factor there.
Yeah, no problem.
If in a period of 3, 4, 5 years, some time passes, and we feel for whatever the reason that we should go back to owning our vehicles and not doing a lease.
Yeah.
Of course, this council can change every 2 years
Yeah.
individually. So, but for the good of the city, right now, we're every year or two, we're replacing some vehicles and this, and I get all that. And some of them are older, and I understand. But if we decide we don't want to do this, would we be faced with it after 4 or 5 years? We own no vehicles all of a sudden, and then we've got to go buy because we want to get out of this
I think you'd
this
probably get
program,
out of it, phase it.
phase it out,
Yeah, you
and
would
start to
just- Yeah, it'd be
repurchase.
too expensive to just go buy.
Yeah, so it'd be more of a phase out
Yeah,
type.
it really wouldn't be any more difficult than if you financed the vehicle. So you'd finish paying them off and then they're yours. You don't have to go
We
out
could-
necessarily and
we could keep these, yeah.
yeah, you don't necessarily need to go out and repurchase
Oh,
them.
you could possibly buy them out of the plan.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, of course, I know there's always a concern, but the strength of Enterprise, if y'all were to not be around to service us or to continue this lease too, that's the only, is there anything in y'all's contracts that speaks to something like if you go into receivership or bankruptcy or something? Or you're
I'm certain
sold
that-
out or bought out, is there any, I'm sure if you were bought out, then the buyers would have to honor your agreements to a point.
Yeah.
But and I'm not trying to be, I'm
with you.
just trying to bring up concerns I have if it was my individual decision as to things that would concern me with my fleet,
Yes, ma'am.
my fleet of two.
I'll
My personal
leave
fleet of two
the-
vehicles.
I'll leave the contract question for when that's reviewed. I
Yeah,
don't know that I
yeah.
can dive into that. We feel pretty
A lot of things look
strong.
good in the front, and this is no disrespect to you. You've done a wonderful
No, no problem.
presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
But there's also the long-term, and
Completely
like I said, the residuals and the leftovers and the
Yes.
getting out and the restructures and the end of the project, so to speak.
Yeah, we feel pretty strong in our balance sheet. Been around for over 60 years. We service many, many industries nationwide. So, but in case that happens, I'm certain there's something in the contract, and I'll leave that for the contract review.
All right, so if this moves forward tonight, the last question I have for you is, I know it says 2021 for the 38 vehicles, and we approve this tonight. When does it actually go into effect, though?
So once we execute the agreements, we're going to place the orders with the manufacturer for 38 vehicles. Lead time right now, there's some supply chain challenges with the manufacturers, but depending on what vehicle we're looking at, between 3 to 6 months. And so you're looking at starting to have vehicles land at the turn of the new year. And you don't pay anything until the month following vehicles dropping on your lot. And so that's when we would look to receive the vehicles. Does that answer your question?
But our fiscal year, the contract would be when we approve it, sign it, the fiscal year is 2021 fiscal year, October 1 through, we get them whenever we get them. But we're talking about fiscal year 21.
Yeah.
As far as our budget goes, Ed, let me ask you, we won't have to do anything amending our budget.
Nope.
Those
No.
dollars would just
Nope.
be
Yeah.
used for
Yes,
for
sir.
this instead of purchasing.
Right, we'll save, yeah, and the dollars we save, will
Gotcha.
And this is just a question for safety.
Yeah.
On most fleet vehicles, all the fleet vehicles, as soon as you start the vehicle, the headlights come on and stay on. The operator cannot deactivate the lights. Is that the case for these? Will your fleet vehicles have those on? Because it's a safety feature that most all fleet companies incorporate with their fleet vehicles.
We don't necessarily incorporate anything, so that feature would just depend on the specific vehicle you're possibly referring to, because you're going to have some Chevys in there.
Well, I mean,
some Ford.
I'm just saying I think it might depend on maybe your company, because, you know, who we use, it doesn't matter what make or model the vehicle is. I'm just saying, because it's rated as a fleet vehicle,
Uh-huh.
that is part of one of the safety features or requirements. Is that something you can just look into and get back to us? I'd
I
appreciate
certainly
it.
can. I can tell you with confidence, we don't do anything to impact what the manufacturer has
Okay.
done on the vehicle.
But most all the manufacturers have their own specific fleet line. So the vehicles that we get are deemed fleet. It's not a vehicle that someone can go to a dealership locally and buy right off the parking lot, you know, off their inventory.
Yeah.
It's a separate total line of vehicles that all the manufacturers have within their manufacturing process. So if you can
Yeah.
find that out for me,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Kerry, how soon would you be able to look at the contract? Oh, soon, okay,
over a week or so.
about a week or so, okay. All right.
May I ask you a question then?
Go ahead.
That's before we make a decision. Do we have to make that decision before the attorney reviews it?
No, we won't make a decision until he reviews it.
You're just authorizing Ed to make the decision after, or make the yes or no, but you're giving them the
We'll have time
authority.
to come back and revisit after he looks at it.
That's not what they're saying.
Yeah, certainly in the past, we have had deals approved contingent on the contracts being okayed.
Okay.
Well, just for clarity, I think this council, if I understand Mr. Dale correctly, he's saying we need a chance to make sure after we hear from our attorney about some conditions and things, because what's about to be presented to us, if we're to be clear, is that we're going to vote possibly to say we're going to go with this program and give Ed the final say to do
Give him the
it, is
contingent
what I'm
on
hearing.
whether
So
it's get
I think
approved,
there's
yeah.
a disconnect here between Mr. Dale's question and that.
I think with the questions, I'd recommend we bring it back in 2 weeks on the 15th.
In 2 weeks and vote.
That's where I am. I don't want to make a decision without the attorney viewing the contract for the total package.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And my
And then you can
concern,
have the question for Mr. Chappelle about the fleet and the lights and so
Sure.
forth.
because I'd also like the next 2 weeks too, Jerry, to let any of the local car dealers have some input to the council that we've bought cars from in the past, how this might impact and affect them.
All that is through, in the past, up to just a couple of years ago, the local dealership wasn't a part of
Oh, we haven't been buying our vehicles locally?
buy board.
I was gonna say, do you not buy them through buy board? And they have a.
We
they
don't go
can-
out, we haven't been going out for bids. We've been,
Well, we try to buy the cheapest vehicle we
Yeah.
can, you know, with the specs.
I mean,
oh,
if we were already buying from local people, I would not be necessarily for it, but we're not. We're using buy board, are we not?
well, and I do know that in the past, some of the local car dealerships have been a part of buy board. They have had an opportunity to offer vehicles on buy board. I know they have in the past. I don't know if they
Right,
still
yeah.
currently.
I think Elliott's,
Yeah.
Ford out here, I think they participated in it the last few years, if I remember right.
I just wanted to make sure that our local dealerships had an opportunity to be a part of this bidding process. I think it's only fair to them to let them be included in this. So that's why I wanted him to verify that they were given that opportunity. Even if they're part of the national database or whatever, I want to make sure they're part of this same enterprise process as well.
Okay.
Because I think that's good, that if we can end up getting some of these vehicles through Elliott or Sandlin, that'd be great.
Or even selling the remaining.
Or, exactly. Mhm.
I would just recommend that, unless this is something that we have to expedite tonight, that we make a decision on the total packet after the attorney has reviewed the entire city process.
I agree.
And bring it back to us. the
And then
next
bring it
meeting on the
back, and
15th.
then we will know what the attorney has said from the contract review, plus what we've done tonight, and we'll have all the information to make a decision on it.
Yes,
Very good.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you guys for the time.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for
We
being
appreciate
here.
it. So with this item, we'll go ahead and,
I move
Okay,
that we
move.
table
go
this
ahead.
item until we get the additional information, then bring it back to the council for a decision.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Jerry Walker, second by Mr. Tim Dillon to table this item to our next meeting. Madam Secretary, record the vote.
Councilmember Chappelle,
Aye.
Sproul, Dale.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Adams.
Wow.
Motion carried unanimously. We will now close item 2. This time we'll move on to item 3. Okay, item 3 is to consider award of a bid for downtown Christmas lights and authorizing the city manager to execute a contract.
Mayor and council, I just wanted to mention Mikhail's got a little presentation. Based on the comments from last year, even from citizens to members of this council and to us and to our Main Street Board, that we need to look at updating our Christmas lights and so forth. So we got with a reputable company and looked at them. They designed what we have. And then we realized the price was more than that made it have to be a bid. So we went out took bids and wrote the specs, went out for bids with it. And this company was the only one that bid on it. So Mikhail's going to show what we're doing. This is like the first year. We have to buy the infrastructure and then it'll be taken down, put up each year, the same thing. But we presented it to the Main Street Board. They approved it, and we'll just bring it to you all to award the contract or consider tonight.
Good evening,
Good
council. The city requested an RFP for downtown lights. Kind of the main purpose of this was to unify and update the existing display and to increase the holiday traffic for downtown. Kind of one of the things we wanted to do with this was to get more people shopping in the downtown districts and to bring them some business. And then not only that, just to bring people to our city overall. We wanted to develop a unique theme and a unique character for the city of Mount Pleasant. And we wanted to make Mount Pleasant a holiday destination, a place where people would come and shop and stay and come to see the Christmas lights. And we really wanted to kind of create this wow factor, you know, like something that people would say, you know, this is where I want to go and take my picture. So that's kind of where we were looking for when we started developing this. And we started looking for some inspirational images and kind of what we wanted to do with that. And so we kind of went with this country Santa kind of look and horseback and carriages. And so this was kind of what we were looking at, and this was kind of what our inspiration was when we started. So Mount Pleasant is more of a Victorian era. It's kind of a horse and trailer, capital of Texas. It embraces the Victorian posh. It kind of has this cowboy grit. But we wanted to distinguish Mount Pleasant from Jefferson. We wanted to distinguish it from Marshall. And we kind of just wanted something that we could build upon every year and make it a place where people came. And so we started looking at the Santa with the horse, and we came up with Boots and Bells. That was kind of an Old West Christmas. That was the theme that we came up with. And so from there, we came up with these ideas of the cowboy boots in the salon and just the theme on horseback. And it was not just a theme for this year, but kind of a tradition for every year, something we could build on and grow from. And that's what we decided to make Mount Pleasant. We ran this by Main Street and it was voted on unanimously. So this year we're going to, in addition to enhanced lighting, we're going to have horse-drawn carriages, and they're going to come on the square from November 20th through December 31st from 6 to 10, Thursday through Saturday. It's going to be $25 a ride.
By the way, if it goes real well and they take two carriages and the horses can do about 24 rides. But if it fills up with reservations, they can actually add another night, Wednesday night to it. But right now we're looking Thursday through Saturday night.
But it'll be about 20 minutes per ride. They'll sanitize between each rider. And then you can make your reservations online. So we'll try to keep it from filling up with long lines for people waiting.
There won't be any walk-up traffic. It's all reservation.
Is it only one carriage or will it be
There'll
multiple?
be two carriages.
Two carriages, okay.
And it'll carry like 4 adults or two parents and 2 or 3 or 4 little kids kind of thing. It's 2
Yeah.
seats.
Mm-hmm. And that we'll be encouraging the downtown merchants to kind of stay open late so that the people, when they get off their carriage rides, they can go shop in the downtown districts. And this will kind of be a draw.
They
get
allow you to
people-
take you can take cookies and a beer and wine or hot chocolate or something on the ride also.
Yeah. And then all the riders will be handing out an information sheet about what the downtown merchants are selling. Also, we'll have a name of what each merchant is and their hours of operations. It'll just be like a little information pamphlet. So while they're riding around, they'll have that to look at. And so then when they get off the ride, it'll kind of be an encouragement to go and shop at these businesses. So it's just kind of a way to advertise for the downtown businesses and bring people in. And then I know that when people start hearing about our carriage rides and stuff, it'll draw other people in to our downtown.
One of the reasons the carriages are here, they kind of want to leave the downtown Dallas, the West End and Highland Park. They're looking to get out into communities like ours. We also are planning on having a media advertisement for this in Dallas and we call it a 4-state area, North DFW area. We'll advertise on TV and radio. It's same in Texarkana and Shreveport and Tyler and Longview and so forth to try to get people to come. That's why we're doing it the middle of November. The Main Street members of the Main Street pointed out a lot of times we do things after Thanksgiving, the 1st of December, and he said a lot of people's Christmases are done, and people are looking for places to get out of the city and come do something. And so we're starting at the middle of November. And in fact, there was thought of even starting it right after Halloween on the 1st of November. We're going to start at the middle of November this time and see if we can bring people out to actually spend some time downtown and in the city.
Yeah. So we just want to just draw kind of visitors in that we can. The proposal, we met with again, the Main Street Committee to draw up the theme. We placed the advertisements in the newspaper. We placed the bid on the website, and we received one bid from the Majestic Christmas Company. What the proposal will include is to refurbish 75 city-owned wreaths, and they actually gave us a picture of what the wreaths would actually look like.
How many wreaths?
75. We have 75.
I thought we had 120 or so, 30.
Well, the quote included to refurbish 75 of them.
They've already picked them up and already have a lot of them done, by the way. If they don't get the bid, we'll pay them for that part.
That'd be good.
So.
There they are. Those are our old ones. Now that's the new look.
Yeah, that's the new look of the wreath.
Ed,
So-
did you ever find out, I had asked earlier, are these going to all be LED?
Yes,
Good.
everything's LED.
But we don't have power to all the posts to put them yet, do we?
Yeah, not on the street, we don't. But I think that, I mean, we're looking at, we need to talk to them, see what they're deciding. But we don't have power on every post. We are putting extra power on the courthouse. County's paying for the electricity, put more power so they can do all the lights they're doing there. They're taking the old lights off of the county courthouse because they're not LED. A lot of them burn out, taking that off and folding what they're doing into what we're doing here. So
they're sharing the cost.
the county judge and, the county judge and the commissioners have approved it to let us do this. As far as the cost of the lights and so forth, they're not, but they trimming their own trees, they're paying to take their old lights off, they're paying for electricity. And anyway, it's going to be majestic. It's going to be pretty.
Yes, so we're doing a 360-degree light curtain around the courthouse. And then we're going to do 4 tree of lights positioned at each corner. And then we're going to do color washes on all 4 sides of the courthouse. And then we're going to do 10 trees of 10,000 lights. And it's going to be hanging from 6 large trees to create this basically magical photo opportunity. So it's going to be just absolutely
Is that in
beautiful.
Caldwell Park or?
This is going to be on the courthouse lawn here.
We are doing,
Trees with 10,000 lights.
we're doing
Yeah.
a scene of, this is on the courthouse lawn. We're doing a
Yeah.
scene, Christmas scene, or we're decorating the gazebo and
Yeah, there's,
and a couple of things,
yeah,
but we're-
I've got a picture of what we're doing in Caldwell coming up. We're doing giant 8 lighted custom ornaments, and this will have like boots and bells in the center of it to kind of reflect the boots and bells scene. And then we move a little bit on the bell tower. We're going to have 2 6-foot lighted wreaths facing north and east. So those will be facing out towards the streets. So when you drive by, you'll see that. And then they're going to do this Mount Pleasant's Texas sign. Now, this is actually going to be in white lights, and people can take their picture next to this.
Are they going to be lights that can change, red and white? I don't understood they might change, but we'll use it at Christmas, but this sign will be built so you can use it at any event year round, so it won't look like Christmassy.
Right.
This is a portable,
Yes,
sign?
that sign will be put up, yeah.
So you're saying that this sign here is intended to be used at events throughout the year?
Yeah, it can be used at any event during the year.
We
yes.
might want to see, since that's LED, to see if they can put the LED on there that you can select the light color. So that way, depending on the event, you can have the
That's a
accented
good
light
idea.
to.
I'm thinking that they said that they had the red and the green around the state or something, and that it could go to all white, but yeah, you could change it. We've got that downtown system where it changes colors.
Mhm.
So we'll look
And
at that.
And then on Caldwell Park, this is going to be on the carriage route. They're going to do the gazebo, and then they're going to do 2 Christmas lights on either side of the gazebo. And the intent here is not to put too much in Caldwell Park because we don't want a lot of people blocking the Caldwell Park. The intent is to keep them in the downtown area and the merchant shopping. So we don't want them to, flock too much to Caldwell Park. We want them more around downtown to see, kind of go to the downtown area. So we wanted to kind of keep Caldwell Park kind of simple.
So Caldwell Park will not be as elaborate as it has been in the past.
That is
Correct.
correct.
Okay.
Now we can build upon it, but that's,
Yeah, so these are all custom designs, this will include materials installation, a lift rental, maintenance, and then when it's all done, they'll put it all up, they'll take it all down, and they'll store it until next year. And then,
And we have that storage available, I mean, we have storage. for that?
they'll take it
They
away
actually
and store
take
it for us and bring it back.
Okay.
yeah. And then the total cost of it is $123,411. And this for the first year because we have to purchase all the lights and everything. And then the second year, it's around $30,000 for the second year.
How many year contract is this, or is there a contract?
So it's $38,190 for year two. And we bid it out for a total of 5 years with the option to renew annually after that. So it will be $38,190 for each year after that.
And they'll add to,
And they can
On
add
year
to
2
it.
or 3 or-
Yes, yes. Every year after that, we can add to it if we wanted to.
This is,
And we
Add to that though, is that in addition to the
So for,
38?
yes,
Yes.
so if we
Oh.
want to add, we would have to purchase the lights if we wanted to add to anything after that.
so they're actually gonna put it up and down. We don't have to expend any city resources to do that.
That's
They,
correct.
they store it. We don't have to expend any
That's
city
correct.
property to do that on.
That's correct.
that should be
It's all
considerable savings
included.
on labor.
And it's all commercial quality LED.
That's
Because
correct.
the one problem that I had from the people that commented to me was, this isn't working, that ain't working, it looks like it's cheap. And it was just basically basic home standard stuff, and it's not built for commercial grade. And this is all commercial grade stuff.
Yes, sir.
That's
Okay.
correct.
It's just a lot of that stuff was out of date.
Yeah.
I don't want, and I'm not sure if you all know this question, but Darlene knows it. I've gotten countless calls since the time I've been on the city council about the old decorations downtown. And when will we go on to replace them? My question is, how long have they had the ones that they've had? That's gonna be.
Darlene, do you know?
You're probably not gonna know it, but many, many years, right?
Yes.
I just can't, I just don't remember when they weren't the same ones. And I've been here all my life.
And you're getting kind of old.
Well, that's why I said they were out of
I
date.
know. I just think it's, just as a comment, about progress and proficiency and productivity in the future. I know it seems like a lot, but this has to be done.
Yep.
It should have been done a long time ago. It's one of those things that if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Because citizens have been talking about it for years now. And that issue about the LED lights on the poles, we need to figure that particular issue out.
Yep.
Because that excuse is not going to work this time about saying that old pole, we need to figure it out. We're going to spend this much money on something. We need to make sure that all those little things are fixed. As far as the taxpayers' money is concerned. But I do believe that we need to look at the change. And I know we're going to say about the times and everything, but my comment tonight is, if we don't make this particular change tonight, when do we plan to make it? Because it's been going on for a long time. And it's another one of those things that we just kick down the street. Each year, it comes up, and you get through Christmas, and you just let it die down. But the fact is, you still never corrected the problem. And that's that stuff downtown. I know it's the county's efforts, and I think it's just time to make my purpose for running for city council is still the same. It's time for change, and we have to be progressive and move toward where we want to be. And the objective here is not only to update this, you're building on your children's future. This is what you give the kids for the next generations. And these are very important issues. And I've had some comments about this over the past week about the price. But I will stress, my main concern is this has been going on at least 10 years. I know they talked about it. I've been here I worked downtown 30 years. My question is, when do we plan to change? And I think it's time for us to make the change tonight.
This should bring people downtown to our
Absolutely.
merchants,
Yes.
by all means. These people, when they come downtown, then they eat while they're here in town. They come from our area. Some may come from Dallas, but they'll come from our immediate areas around here, the Mount Vernons, the Pittsburghs. They'll come in here. This horse-drawn carriage, I mean, this is what it takes. This is what it takes to get people to our downtown and then come back in the future too. Not just at Christmas, but they look at it and they're like, wow. Like you said, that's what we want to present, is this wow experience. This is neat.
I want to follow up on Mr. Walker's point in regards to the old decorations. So the only decorations we're putting up that are considered old are the refurbished wreaths, correct?
That's correct.
Everything else is going to be decommissioned, correct?
It'll be decommissioned, or if anything that could be reworked for future, we'll do that, but it won't be, any of the else stuff won't be put back up.
Okay. And then is it our plan for all these LED lights, especially around the courthouse area, to be interfaced with our music? So that way, if we have the option to enable the features so the lights synchronize with the music, we can either turn it on or off, but we have that ability, because that is the neatest thing. If you've ever been to a city that has these kind of lights, the lights are synchronized to the music, and you can manipulate that how you want to. But I'm just saying, is that going to be a part of this here, or is that something we can maybe add in the second year or third year? I
Maybe
just want to make
something we
sure
can add.
we have the ability to do that.
We've not talked about it, but we are talking about doing something with, we talked with the county. I thought their lights were tied in with the lights we have on other buildings that change
Right.
color and that. They're not. We talked in terms of maybe they would invest in something that would put on the courthouse that would be there more permanent like ours and tie in with our lights. And we've not asked about the music thing, but we can do that and see if they can do that with this year. So dancing lights.
Are they going to check to see if we can, though, incorporate the new courthouse lights with the existing Main Street
Yeah,
lights?
they're going to look at that. Yes.
So
Yeah,
that way
that's-
they can be synchronized together?
Yeah, that's going to be done after the Christmas stuff's taken down, and then we'll
Okay.
look at that. But during the time, we'll be looking at that and proposing that with the judge of the county.
I might add too, with the savings that we talked about a while ago, that Councilman Adams mentioned there about not having the city labor involved in putting them up, we might try to utilize some of those manpower or dollars or whatever to maybe get electricity to some of these poles. And even with the county, maybe to help us a little bit with getting electricity to.
At the very minimum, we need to mark the poles that are that do not have electricity, and before next Christmas, before not this coming, but the following Christmas, we need to make that adjustment.
Yeah, because aesthetics goes a long way with people. Having that visual effects, I know in the years past, just seeing with the existing ornaments that we have, you'll be driving down the city streets and you'll see 3 or 4 light poles that should have a wreath or some kind of decoration on it,
But don't,
and there's nothing there.
a lot of
And then
things,
the ones that are hanging, you saw the electrical cord plugged into the socket, but it doesn't work.
yeah.
So imagine the people that drive through our city year after year, seeing that year after year after year, wondering, why that was never addressed. So I think this is a great opportunity to,
I agree with you. And also with the, on a horse-drawn carriage, you're sure going to be able to take it all
So-
in, and you're going to see the lights that aren't lit up.
and about the horse-drawn carriage, do we know if there's a way I guess you want to call it the driver, so to speak, of the carriage, he or she, can we give them to give a little, if they want to, if the people that are paying for the ride, to give a little historical background of the Main Street area that the carriage is going to be traveling through? So,
We
about the
can talk
building?
about that. What we might do is maybe they'll let somebody ride up with them that could then do that. Somebody from here on Main Street Board or something.
That'd be
We'll
good.
look at.
I think it's a good idea for the
sometimes-
visitors, for the
Sometimes it
visitors.
don't even have to be true. You know, I've been on them before and you get through and you're looking like, really? You know,
Yeah.
is that, you know,
Make
they're
it
just
up as you
talking,
go.
everybody just.
Yeah, I just think that would be something very beneficial. If our objective here is to try to attract more visitors to the community, I think that would be a plus for us to have somebody knowledgeable of the city or the county to be on that carriage.
Let the Main Street Board.
Well, that's what I'm
let
saying,
them
but
be
I mean,
involved.
let's talk about that and see if we can incorporate that, because I think that'll be a great benefit, and I think the people that visit would enjoy that.
One of the things that they mentioned about the poles along the city, along the streets, but a lot of them aren't, the poles were not put in the first place with like the same distance between them necessarily, so it's aesthetically pretty for Christmas wreaths and stuff. So it's kind of hodgepodge the way you do it. And they said sometimes you need to maybe put in an extra pole or two with electricity so that it starts looking more symmetrical as you go down the street. So we could look in that for next year and do.
Absolutely. The first move is getting professional people involved, and this is that movement right here.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just an idea, you know, get someone, maybe Kerry on all of his off time to ride on the carriage. And he can remember 100 years ago what store was there and who owned this.
Like you say, it doesn't have to be true.
Yeah, everybody ride along and who and all.
Well, I think the whole theme and everything is outstanding. I think it's actually remarkable. And it's going to bring, I think it will enhance the revenue downtown. And another part of that would be when we have our Christmas parade, to have that, to be able to view as you go down, it's going to bring some enhancement to that too.
Mhm.
So I like this idea. I think it's been well researched. So if any.
I do have another
did you
question.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
okay, I understand this is pretty much concentrated on the downtown square, Main Street area, a little bit in the Caldwell Park. And y'all know more than I do, because I go straight home. I'm so old, Christmas decorations pretty much all look alike to me. Do we?
Humbug.
Well, humbug. I don't have children yet, so you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm more interested in Santa Claus than I am the gifts, okay? Do we decorate other areas in town, like, out on, do we have any?
I think we put wreaths out by the interstate.
That's
do
what I
we
mean.
not?
Are we going to
Yeah.
continue to
Almost,
do that?
yeah.
Are we going to still do some of that?
I think out by
Yeah.
the interstate where the Mount Pleasant things
Yeah.
are,
Big-
at the exits.
yes.
We put wreaths out there.
Yeah,
don't
there's wreath, and there's even right there at the Super One, 271.
Yeah.
I'm
49.
learning something.
So the-
Yeah, that's why I'm
Well,
bringing it up. And,
Well, maybe we can look at the possibility of updating those a little bit too while we're at it.
I'm just asking,
Yeah, we could-
could we still use what we have?
Yeah,
And
I
update
think
and
so.
not, I still like
better.
the wreath on the interstate.
Yeah.
We still need all those two locations on 160 and 162 and down here at Super One. We still
They
need
may
those.
have all-
Yeah, the Super One intersection, and I know that there's been more, in the past, there's been some other areas that have had some city decorations. Like, do y'all do the Civic Center even? Is there anything
Yeah.
on this
I
building?
think they do, though.
And, in other words, are we going to continue to use our other decorations temporarily for those?
Brandon, do you do the Civic Center?
They stopped doing lighting on the Civic Center several years ago now.
Didn't it?
Was there a reason?
When the wreaths or anything on the building? Don't y'all do
There
anything?
was one giant wreath that used to be hung, but
It needs to be
they
added
were
back.
having problems with the old lights,
Okay.
and then it looked.
It's something you can look into it.
Well,
It needs to be, I recommend that it's added back to the.
here's the deal. If our guys aren't busy doing the stuff downtown,
Right,
maybe
they can do some of that
they can
other-
do the other stuff, you know?
Right,
It
right.
frees them up.
And we should have a lot of good stuff left over.
Absolutely.
But we talked about as long as they're not just totally demolished, we could
Sure.
possibly touch up, refresh some of our older decorations and use them in other areas to help enhance other parts of town.
Well, we appreciate the Main Street Committee being
Mhm.
involved in
Yes,
this and their
very
support in
much
all of
so.
this for sure.
Very much. I have a question, Ed. In this Main Street project that we're looking at doing,
Yes, sir.
can we also look at going ahead and planning for electrical sockets to be constructed during that phase, or at least a plan for it? So as we grow year to year to expand that footprint for these Christmas lights, we'll
that's-
already be prepared.
That's an eligible thing. We could look at that in another grant cycle. We just entered that, or submitted that grant yesterday. Today was the deadline, so it was submitted yesterday or today. And it's all sidewalks, but electrical, lamp posts and stuff, and ADAs especially. The safety stuff, the sidewalks and ADA and stuff is the big deal. And
The
we
lighting
could
would be part of that.
and the lighting, we can check into that, because like you say, if we had some specialty street lights and lamps down the streets and whatever, at least in our Main Street area, then we could use those. We could set them up so that they're going to hold a wreath.
Yeah, and
Plug in.
we plan to set those up so they tie back to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Main Street lights that are all
Yeah.
tied together.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Ed, just in light of what Sherry was saying, just a thought. I've had several friends in lately from out of town, and they just look at Delwood Park. It's like I can't believe y'all got. I said, well, we got another one and another one on the way. In the park. If you have this excess stuff that's left over, and I'm not the one to talk to about the aesthetics. That's more you guys. But you do have your part. Don't forget about if you have that, don't forget about like Delwood and whatever, because there are lots of people that utilize that, and that may be something, that.
Bring them out of storage, yeah.
Place on this stuff that's.
It's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Bring them
Yeah,
out of storage.
it is.
Don't use them in the various parks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That sounds great. Okay, if there's no further questions, the floor is open for a motion on item 3, to consider award of bid for downtown Christmas lights and authorizing the city manager to execute a contract.
I move that we award the bid for the downtown Christmas lights to the Majestic Christmas Company and authorize the city manager to execute that contract.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Galen Adams, second by Mr. Jerry Walker. Madam Secretary, record the vote.
Councilman Chappelle,
Aye.
Sproul,
Aye.
Bell,
Aye.
Walker, Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
I might just make a statement that last 2 weeks ago, we made a motion authorizing the mayor to sign a contract for the Main Street construction of that, hire it. And it was put in the paper that the council authorized the mayor to be the Main Street manager or
Yeah,
director. I mean,
Yeah.
and so since we're doing another one for downtown, I just wanted to clarify in case they're listening that
You're
I'm
just
not the Main
executing the
Street director.
contract.
Yeah, I'm not the
Exactly.
main, I'm just executing the contract and I'm not the director. So.
Yeah.
We appreciate you clarifying that, exactly.
No misunderstanding.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and close item 3, and we'll move on now to public comment. Madam Secretary, do we have any comments for the public comment?
Yes, sir. The city manager, Ed Thatcher,
Read really loud because I just
hear you.
barely.
We
heard
can't hear
my
you,
name.
this city manager, Ed Thatcher, does not want any person who has been loyal to the citizens and the city of Mount Pleasant to remain an employee of our city. I repeat, our city. The way Ed Thatcher has treated Eddie Parrott, Amy Hinton, and Kyle Holcomb is disgusting. Good, valued, experienced, intelligent, and loyal employees and residents of our city. Ed Thatcher will leave our city shortly and leave us the wreckage in his wake. It's deplorable and sad, and our current city council has allowed it all to happen. Lawsuits, harassment, kickbacks, and hiring friends is just a part of Thatcher's bad behavior. We all need to speak at the polls in May. Do not re-elect a council that supports such bad behavior. This comment was from Annie Johnson.
From who?
Annie
Annie
Johnson.
Johnson.
Okay, thank you. Is that our only comment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and close item 4. We'll move on to item 5, city manager's report.
Yes, I have just a couple of things. Let me first, I'd like to introduce a couple of our new directors, or one in director and one building official. John Ankrum, I don't know if any of y'all had a chance to meet him. John Ankrum been the public, he came from, he came from Mount Vernon. He lives in Mount Vernon. He was the head building official in Paris. He's also worked in Rockwall, but he lives in Mount Vernon, and we're glad to have him. He hit the ground running. Also, Ricky Harris, wave Ricky, he's our new Parks and Recreation Director, started about a week ago, and we're really glad to have him there. They're really shouldering the weight of the work. And also Nathan Tafoya met with me yesterday and today, and they've got a client, if you will, that wants to take the spec building out in the industrial park. And they've got a project put together. They'd like to meet with us. They're saying 2 weeks is maybe a week too late. They'd like to meet with us a week from tonight, just with that one item on to discuss the project and get the city council's approval so they can move forward with it. So just kind of asking y'all if that's something you can do a week from tonight, 6:30, be one item.
I'm good.
Council's good with that?
I'm good.
Okay. We can go ahead and schedule.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and close item 5, city manager's report. And we'll move on now to our executive session pursuant to Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code. The city council will recess into executive session to discuss the following: real property, to discuss purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Also litigation, to consult with the city attorney concerning legal matters. The council will reconvene after this. At this time, which is 7:38, we are now going into executive session.
the stream element is still at 4. The stream element is still at 4, but it looks like the OBS reconnected this time. But YouTube's still doing that. OBS Studio. Well, I'm wondering if there's an issue with YouTube. Because when I switched to the different network, and I can't confirm that. I'm looking at a document. So it's going out to city network. If you don't want to buy the address, what does it say? $74.94.221.2. I wonder if it decided to maintain the connection. When I plugged it in, because I have 2 necks. But I don't have wireless. Well, it's excellent connection now. YouTube's better. Stream is healthy. Okay. So what would be the result on what's going to be? 12.185.217.26. Okay, well, I got a 12.185.217.26. Okay. But right now, the down and the up are both 81. So then maybe this will work. Because I've got excellent, I got a green light on YouTube. So. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Right, you're watching. He's in front of Dennis Chateau. You see me in one right now? Right. Cherry's cool. Cherry's cool. The Thatcher's next. Tracy Crick, Mayor, Tracy Crick. Tyndale. Going to Jerry. Jerry Walker. Galen Adams. And the Darlene spot, Darlene video dead spot, and then Gary. Is the bottom right the presenter? Yeah. That seems like a waste. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about YouTube, now we kind of got something more. So if you want to just move on, and I'll call you if there's a problem. I'm pretty sure that we can coast, so just forget about it for the rest of the evening. Are you free?
Yeah, it's still coming, you know, ain't no way home. Have a good evening.
You too.
there.